Talk Radio with Sandra Beck and Linda Crater celebrate the thoughts and opinions of magnetic, spirited, and influential women. Each week, bold, brilliant women spark vigorous conversations on the complexities of life, love, and happiness. Now here are your hosts, Sandra Beck and Linda Crater.
Hey ladies, this is Sandra Beck and I'm here with Linda Crater, and we're going to be visiting today with Frankie Picasso and Amanda Testa. And today's topic sent my blood pressure through the roof. Now, this was reported by the UK's Telegraph, and they talked about these judges in Portugal who were found guilty of sexual discrimination in a medical compensation case where they decided that the importance of sex diminished with the age of the woman. Now, the lady, she was a 50-year-old Portuguese woman with 2 kids. She got this gynecological surgery done and they botched it. And they paid her for the mental suffering and the physical. But this botched surgery left her unable to have normal sexual relations. Now, the hospital then appealed, and in 2013, they cut her payout, which wasn't very much, by a third. And to justify this cut, judges in Lisbon argued sex was not as important because of her age. They ignored the physical and psychological importance of sexuality for women's self-fulfillment and other dimensions of a woman's sexuality, the European court said. Now, the Lisbon court decision was based on this assumption that sexuality for this woman was not important because she had 2 children already, and if she was of a younger age, they would consider it. Now, this same court found in 2014 that when a man could no longer have normal sexual function or relations, that it affected their self-esteem. It brought tremendous, strong mental shock, regardless of their age or whether they had children or not. What?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Is this the dark ages, where women, we only have sex to have children, and once we have our children, who cares if we botch your body parts? Too bad for you. I'm sorry, but this totally blew my mind. I'm going to go to Amanda Testa first. Amanda, you've got to have something to weigh in on this.
Oh my goodness. I could not believe when you read that to me. Of course, my blood started boiling because, first of all, that is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. And sadly, that's what happens a lot of the time. I think as women, that's a struggle that we face. Like, we're only viable when we're young and able to bear kids, right? Which is so not true. But that's kind of a ancient cultural message that we've received over the years that, women need to be young and they need to be fertile. And after that, they're good for nothing, which we all know is far from true. And my personal opinion, we get better with age. And like anything,
Yes.
if you so that just, I can't even believe that article. It blows my mind, to be quite honest with you.
This is Frankie. It blows my mind too. I cannot believe that they think sexuality is more important to men than it is to women, that they think women, over 50. I mean, women are hitting their stride at 50. Men have finished it. Let's be honest. The guys, they can go in their late teens and early 20s. But women, we're just coming into our sexuality, in our 40s and 50s and even 60s. So we're having better sex now, better orgasms now than we did when we were younger.
We have a fantastic new sponsor to share with you today, and we welcome FabFitFun. FabFitFun is a seasonal subscription box with full-size beauty, fitness, fashion, and lifestyle products. Imagine opening your own FabFitFun box each season with brands like Michael Stars, Trina Turk, Moroccan Oil, Dr. Brandt, Juice Beauty, Zoya, Beaker, and Chris Nations. Celebrity fans include Martina McBride, Ashley Tisdale, Bethany Frankel, Kyle Richards, and so many more. Each box retails for $49.99, but always has a value over $200. The fall box will be released in September, and they sell out fast. Don't miss out. Check out www.fabfitfun.com and use the code DYNAMIC to save $10 off your first box, making it only $39.99. Again, that's fabfitfun.com and use the code DYNAMIC. Every FabFitFun box has a value of over $200, and it's the perfect way to treat yourself with the most amazing products of the season. Become a member today and get your first box for just $39.99 when you use code DYNAMIC at fabfitfun.com. With FabFitFun, you get a box of full-size products 4 times a year. FabFitFun with code DYNAMIC. Order yours today.
I think this is Linda. I think we go back to something Amanda had put on a Facebook Live event not long ago. First of all, I agree with all of you because I do think we are far more comfortable in our skin in our 40s and 50s after we've had our children because we're not any longer defined by being a mom. I mean, you go from being a woman, a young woman, and then you're a mom. And you're the mother of so-and-so. You don't even have an identity in many cases for a long time. But as you go older into your years, you're much more comfortable in your skin. Your self-confidence rises. Your sexual energy rises. And Amanda did this this Facebook Live thing about charisma and success and sexual energy. And it's really true. How about the endorphins, people? I mean, just the simple biological facts of that sex is a very viable, vital part of life. I mean, that's very interesting, especially in today's world when there really is no end point for men, not with the advent of Viagra.
Well, and I liken the human body. You guys are going to laugh at me about this, but when I was in my 20s and I had a rockin' fit body, I hated my body. I thought my boobs were too big, my hips were too big, my legs were too long, like all these stupid things, like stupid things. And it was like when I bought my minivan. When I got divorced, I had to get rid of everything. Well, I buy this minivan, and I cried. I cried because I'm like, oh my God, I'm driving a minivan. Like I went from owning a Lexus, a Jeep, a Miata to this minivan. I cried. And then a funny thing happened. As I recognized all that it could do, fast forward 13 years, what do I buy as the replacement vehicle for the very car I cried about was a new minivan. Because I can go to soccer, I can go to the beach, I can pack all my computer equipment, I can take a nap, all these things. Well, that's like what happened to my body when I had kids. I'm like, hey, these boobs that I was worried about, that like were too big or too small or weren't high enough or weren't low enough. It's like, these were the snack bar for my kids. They're also the fun bags for my personal relationships. Like they have got all
well put.
But you look at I look at what my body does every day as a single mom. It cleans the pool. It drives the kids. It cooks, it cleans, it shops. It makes a living for all of us. And I think as women, we so become more than just our bodies as we age. And that's what my minivan became. It became so much more of, a utility vehicle, a home, a place for memories, like all these things. Because when I was 20, I was kind of dumb.
Well, you weren't dumb. You were exhausted. I mean, when you're a young mom and you've got and you got your kids up all night and you get like maybe 2 hours sleep a day, who the hell wants sex then? Nobody. Your husband wants it, and maybe you spread your legs for him because okay, let's get it over with. And believe me, I a lot of us were thinking that. Let's hurry up, let's get it done. Because you're exhausted. All you want to do is sleep. Now we got lots of time on our hands now, honey. Come on, let's go play.
Yeah, the proverbial blowjob, hand job, because I can get to sleep faster.
Exactly.
Oh, my. Okay. So I was just thinking back to when I had young children, and you're absolutely right. You're so exhausted. But then I do remember as they got older, it was still very, very fun. And it was an escape. It was delightful. It was a way to connect. And I think that was a very great time in the 30s. I love that part. But I find that in the 40s, it was even better because you know your body, you know what you like, you know what you want to express and what you are not shy about any longer in terms of what you're looking at. But I think that your perception of sex changes over time. I think we're really happy with who we are, or happier. Most of us are, I would hope. I do remember going through my divorce, though, and walking through an airport and feeling totally invisible because I was invisible during that downtime. But when you come out of a dark period, you regain all your oomph and your zest. And I think I look at women in their 40s and 50s, even 60s now, and think, girls, you got it. I mean, you got it.
Yeah.
That is so true. And actually, this is Amanda. Linda, studies have shown too that even the older you are, the more chances that you're going to have better orgasms. Because I think it's something like in your 20s, 40% of women struggle with being able to achieve orgasm, and after 40, only 20%. And I think it does have a lot to do with that. You have more confidence in your body. You're just more accepting of who you are and your body in general. And that just leads you to be more confident and more free in the bedroom as well. And I do have to say, though, I know when you have young kids, sex can be such a chore, but I do think that it can also be a treat. And even though you're exhausted, when you find the way that it works for you, so you just don't feel like you're just giving and giving, but also receiving, I think that's the big thing we need to also look at, because so many women do view, they're just going to give it to their man because for him to leave them alone, when there's also a way you can still enjoy it, which I think obviously being exhausted is key. When you have that choice, can I sleep for 20 minutes or have sex? A lot of times you're going to choose sleep, but also in having those discussions with your partner so they're not constantly feeling shut down, but also finding how intimacy can benefit you when you are in those, postpartum times, because anyway, your body is touched out a lot of the time, but it's so nourishing when you can have that connection and that intimacy with your partner to support you as you heal and kind of get through just surviving the days with young kids.
Surviving the survival.
Yeah. This is Frankie. I think I'm probably one of the older ones here. So I think physiologically, I probably didn't have a vaginal orgasm until I was over 40. And I think what happens is closer even to 50. And I'm in my 60 now. I think the lining, I don't know if the lining of the vagina is thinner or what's happening, but the vaginal orgasms are stronger now than when I was younger. I had more clitoral orgasm. Mm-hmm. So they just got better with age.
Yeah,
nobody's saying anything. They're all shocked.
Well, I agree, and I think part of that too comes the older you are. You do have those less demands with the young children, and you do kind of find more time to reconnect with yourself and your partner, so you are able to spend more time. It's not always like, got 20 minutes, you know what I mean? And that's kind of what it takes a lot of times too for those deeper orgasms is, it's not just a quick kind of thing. It's a more extended, pleasurable build type of experience.
Don't you think also you learn your bodies after a certain period of time, and you learn what you like, and you become more comfortable with expressing what you are looking for or liking? You also pay attention to your partner. If you're an intuitive, intimate observer, then it becomes a much more pleasurable two-way conversation, if you will, a connection. And I think when we're young, it can be more of just a quick release, or there's not a lot of attachment. We're coming up on a break. I would love to talk after the break with the importance of intimacy. We're talking about sex, and that's very important. But I think it's a surprising fact about how many men and women are really intrigued by intimacy as they get older and how much better it makes things. You're listening to Dynamic Women Talk Radio. We're going on a short break, and we'll be back right after these messages. Don't go away. We'll be right back. We're Dynamic Women Talk Radio, and we'll return after these short messages.
It's the Fitness Minute with fitness expert Annette Hammond.
The goal for each of us is to be active. Every day, I encourage you to get up and get moving. Put your body in motion and watch your mood change in a positive way. Your outlook on life improve, your energy increase, and many more affirmative things happen to you. Remember that you don't need to be an athlete in order to be fit. I hear that excuse quite a bit. Some people think that since they're not athletic, they can't be fit. Nothing could be further from the truth. It does not take athleticism to walk on a treadmill or outside. You don't have to be an athlete to swim laps in a pool or to take a yoga class. I'm not athletic, yet I am fit. So don't let your excuse for not being active be because you're not an athlete. No matter what your coordination level, you can be fit. For the Fitness Minute, I'm Annette Hammond.
Hey, ladies, this is Dynamic Women, and I'm Sandra Beck, and I'm here with my lovely co-host, Linda Crater. And we're visiting today with Amanda Testa and Frankie Picasso, and we're talking about sex and intimacy and perceptions of sex after 40. And one of the things, girls, like, in the last segment, I talked about the minivan. I'm going to make another analogy about lingerie, okay? In my 20s, and I'm sure most women were like me, they wore lingerie that like rode up your butt, it pushed your girls to the moon, and, had all these bright colors. Well, now that I'm older, I am wearing more luxurious fabrics. They drape, and yes, they do, kind of cover up the pudding cups and juice bags that somehow are stuck to
You're so hard on yourself.
Well, but you can't wear a push-up bra if everything else is going south. Like, it's just,
This is true.
That's just not going to happen unless, you're married to a plastic surgery that can chop off the pork chops you had last night. But the process is different. Beautiful hair, beautiful, like I like to wear beautiful skin creams, and then a beautiful piece of lingerie. It's slower. It's more luxurious. And just the choice of fun time wear, personal private wear, is so much more nurturing to me rather than pleasing to my partner. Now, the overall effect is the same. I'm not going to bed with granny panties and, hair rollers, but it's more about me being an active participant in the sensual role, where in my 20s, it was more about pleasing my partner.
Definitely. I think that's because what we learn a lot coming along. First of all, the sex education in our country is lacking in a lot of ways. So what most people learn is that either, sex is bad, or you don't want to get pregnant, or this is what Cosmo says, I have to look like this and I have to do this. And it's never, ever, ever, women's pleasure is hardly ever discussed. But as you age, you learn more about that. And then you realize, like, hey, it's not just for him. This is for me too. And like you said, like really luxuriating in what you're putting on your body and how you are, just treating yourself, enjoying the luxurious drape of the fabric, and, just presenting yourself in a way where you feel comfortable and realizing, hey, I'm here to receive too. It's not just about doing it all for him,
What's interesting, I don't know if any of you watched The Bachelorette or The Bachelor, but one of the girls on The Bachelor last season, she admitted, she goes, I've never had an orgasm with a man. And the guy's like, well, you're going to have one with me.
A challenge.
A challenge. Yes. And she came out, the next morning and with a big smile on her face. But, she'd had numerous partners who had never bothered or helped her or tried because, why? Because women tend to lie and go, oh, that was great. Or is it because, they're embarrassed that they didn't have one? Or is it the guys are just really bad in bed and women aren't talking, going, hey, left, right, move it, Like, what's going on? This is kind of interesting, and it kind of brings us back to the original part of the topic. But in Judaism, the Torah, there's a commandment known as Onah, and it obligates the man to provide sexual intercourse to his wife on a regular basis, regardless of whether they have already had children or not.
Really?
Yeah. So that is really interesting, because not only is God saying go forth and multiply, he's saying go forth and make your wife happy.
Well, he made us to be happy, to
That's
find
right.
pleasure.
Beings.
We are sexual beings. I think that the intimacy is so interesting over the years, because I don't think in our 20s we really knew what intimacy was. And then either you were the recipient of it and gave it, or you did not have that intimacy and you realized the lack of it. But I think a lot of it comes from when we age, we are more confident in ourselves. We are, we're pretty confident we can please others. And I think one of the things that I love is I've always been blessed by having male friends who I can say, I don't understand this. What did I do wrong? Or what could I have said differently? Or what's going on? And they would be very frank and say, oh, you just scared them to death when you said that, because they are not into intimacy. And it's true. Sometimes you can scare people, but the right ones will give you the right combination of whatever it is you're seeking. And I think we seek different things at different times of our lives. But I do find as I get older, if sex is to be meaningful, it has to also have the intimacy factor to it. Some people don't need it. I'm one that does. And I find that it is really interesting, because the more confidence you have in yourself and you're blessed by people who tell you the truth, you can really be have more freedom as you get older.
Linda, what does intimacy mean to you then? I mean, it's not just,
intimacy
you'll let
to
somebody
me
look at
means,
you without being embarrassed.
Oh, absolutely. Intimacy means to me that this is someone who understands what makes me tick, understands the difference between sexual and sensual, that foreplay goes on all the time. It just is, you're not, you walk by someone and you simply put a hand on their shoulder.
Yeah.
It's the non-intimate, non-sexual. Those are the things that are important to me. Now, I'm different, and I'm sure everybody has their own definitions, but to me, it really is a matter of feeling cherished, feeling treasured, feeling that I'm desired, and all of those things make me feel much closer to that person. So the men who are smart enough to figure that out, and it's pretty obvious, it really does make for a far more meaningful relationship, because without it, I would rather not have a relationship, because I'm beyond that. Does that make sense?
That's total sense. And you know what? I mean, the ability to have somebody do that with you, for you, and you do it, return that favor. It's not like you're starting at 0 and trying to get up to 10. You're already humming at 5 or 6 or 7, right? And then that's just the ultimate when you actually express yourself physically with them.
Right.
Yeah, it's because you're always there. And so, it's very important. It keeps you close to your partner all the time. And it's how you can bring yourself back to the partner too.
Right.
If you're not feeling it right now.
Well, and I'm going to translate this into a really simple formula, because, that's what tech people do. But
here comes the nerd. Okay.
Here comes the nerd. But the nerd is based on a great comment that one of my dad guy friends made. He said to his young son, if you expect to have sex on Saturday night, we were talking about this article that said everybody has sex at like 7:57. Common time, like on Saturday night. He's like, you better start making love with your wife on Tuesday. And that means talking to her, listening to her, rub her back, clean the dishes. You do all these things. He said, you can't expect a woman to shift gears. And he says, you got to start on Tuesday if you're going to get laid on Saturday. And I thought that was, first of all, I thought it was very funny, but the formula is start paying attention on Tuesday if you expect to have sex on Saturday, because that's the way women are wired.
But so few men know that in their 30s. I know that was a deficit in our household. I mean, that just wasn't it. It was more a matter of frequency, or a matter of, I don't know, setting records, etc. There's some really immature things going on.
I put my hand on your boob. Aren't you excited now?
Right. Well, and I'm not going to go deeper into that, but I think you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And so it makes a difference. But I'm one of those that, you've said it right, Frankie. Once you're in sort of a humming mode, it's so connected, and it's so easy to then have the sex be enjoyable. And it's really wonderful. Sandra, I'm going to ignore that comment you just typed. Oh, my word. I'm glad you all can't see the comments in the chat right now.
Let me just say, I was a military contractor for 20 years, and most of the people who worked for me were 20-something men. They would bring rulers into the bedroom. They would measure how far they could shoot, and not the gun, their own gun. I mean, all these things are going through.
Oh, my God.
I'm sorry. My eyes are rolling in my head.
Yeah. That's ridiculous.
I don't know anyone like that, thank goodness.
Well, it's not like I know them. They worked for me, and I would sit there in my office as the head tech, listening to them all talk while they program.
Oh,
so immature. Yeah.
But we're different. The point is we're different.
I'm without words. Go ahead, Amanda.
Yeah, I was just going to say, it's interesting too, because I think that, in the younger the men, the more they are kind of like fast and furious, because that's kind of their prime is their younger ages, supposedly, right? But as they get older, they can slow down, they can last longer, and that also leads to more enjoyment for you. And I know for myself, my husband is 53 and I am 44, and we've been together for 10 years, and the sex just gets better and better. And so for people that say, well, after a certain age, it's going to start going downhill, I have to beg to differ, because that is, there's so much you can do to keep that connection alive and to get it, even deeper. And I think that's one of the things that happens as you age too. It is a deeper experience. And like, we were talking about intimacy a minute ago, and I can't remember, I read this somewhere, but it was, intimacy means like into me see. And like Linda was mentioning, just that they really see you fully and who you are, and having that closeness in non-sexual ways as well as with a sexual connection, but just really
appreciation, don't you think?
Definitely appreciating each other and just who you are. And the older you get, the more you feel that for one another.
The book industry understands that we want sex. Harlequin and all the books out there that show, women having sex and graphic sex now, because it really is more erotic sex. So, they understand that women are still reading at 60 and 70 and want to read about sex. They want to have sex, whether they're having it or not. They certainly want to know about it. Yeah, exactly. 50 Shades of Grey. So, sexuality is a huge part of our lives, and it never dies. I really don't believe it ever dies. When young men think about it 20 times a day, and maybe older women think about it 20 times a day too. Who knows? But we're going to go to our commercial break very shortly. And, think about your own sexuality and your own sex life. And like Linda said, if you need more intimacy in your life, start touching your partner as you walk by them. Give them a little peck, touch their head, and get yourselves hummed up for Saturday night. Because it could be a humdinger. Who knows?
Good one.
We're Dynamic Women Talk Radio, and we'll return after these short messages.
Man cannot live by bread alone. He must have his peanut butter. Peanut butter is a pate of childhood, and it's not just for kids, as dogs love it too. Last night, I gave my dog a pill hidden in peanut butter. What's a word for a messy concoction that helps the medicine go down? Sliver sauce. Mice apparently prefer peanut butter to cheese when it comes to luring them into the trap. But there are even more practical uses for peanut butter. Peanut butter contains natural oils, which makes it perfect for removing all kinds of sticky things, like gum stuck in your shoe or in your hair. What's a word for the fear of peanut butter sticking to the roof of your mouth? Arachnophobia. And according to Barry Goldwater, if you don't mind smelling like peanut butter for 2 or 3 days, peanut butter is a darn good shaving cream.
It's Martin.
I'm Carolyn Davidson, and you can have fun challenging your words you never heard vocabulary with my free app, Too Funny for Words.
It's the Fitness Minute with fitness expert Annette Hammond.
Did you know that the average teenager drinks twice as much soda as milk? Since 1983, sugar consumption in the U.S. is up 28%. Why is that? There are several reasons, but one of the most common is soft drinks. 20-ounce beverages have become the norm, and it's not surprising to find that 43% of our sugar comes from drinks. Sugar is blamed for poor nutritional diets. USDA data shows that people whose diets are high in added sugar eat less calcium, fiber, iron, protein, and many other important nutrients. Fat-free foods are also a culprit. Since sugar is fat-free, many people tend to think it's okay to eat as much as they want. Remember that just because a food is fat-free does not mean that it's calorie-free also. For the Fitness Minute, I'm Annette Hammond.
Hi, this is Linda, and welcome back to Dynamic Women Talk Radio. We are talking about our perception of sex and has it changed over time. I think one of the things that continues to surprise me is the ability of magazines like Cosmo to continually have the headlines that are covered up at the grocery store. And one of the big ones always is 100 ways to please a man. And my daughter once said this to her husband. She said, goodness, or he saw the magazine at the store and they started to talk. And he just looked at her, and he's very tall and she's very petite. And he said, you only need one. And it was absolutely hilarious because there's so much, I don't want to call it performance anxiety, but there's so much in the way of do these 5 things and things will be wonderful for you. But I think we find that you do want to get out of a rut. If you're in a rut, if you have, paint by the numbers sex, that is probably not as enjoyable as experimenting with new things sometimes, or going away to a hotel or something different. Mm-hmm. But don't you find that these encouragement articles, I'll call them, where they give you a million things, actually add pressure instead of giving you ideas? Or maybe they do give you ideas. Maybe I'm just different. What do you all think?
No, they make me want to lose my mind because half the time I'm like, okay, I can't put my ankle behind my ear. So right then,
really?
Yeah, really. And it kind of goes to this whole thing that we are there for the entertainment of men. And, I think about that 26-year-old Russian, the human Barbie. Have you guys seen her? Valeria Nova. That totally blew my Barbie fantasy. I had Barbies growing up. I look like Barbie, just like kind of 50-something Barbie, which they don't make.
I'll talk to Mattel.
Yes, you talk to Mattel on that. But the point is that, all of these articles and then the perceptions that are driven by the porn industry. And then we have women getting plastic surgery to try to mimic Photoshop. And, one of my favorite things to do, in alignment with all this pressure, because Linda, all those articles just cause me to have more pressure.
So they do to me too.
I like to look at the before and after Photoshops, like epic Photoshop fails. Like if you haven't Googled that in a while, you should do that because they jack the boobs up, shrink the hips, the waist is gone. I don't know what they do with your liver, your kidneys, and your intestines. There's no room for any of that. I mean, just human anatomy dictates, but the message it sends, whether you're 5 years old playing with a Barbie or 75 years old, is that all that matters in the bedroom is the physicality and almost like the circus gymnastics that these magazines, expect us to do.
I agree. And that is something that is so troubling because of the porn industry. And today, one of the number one rising surgeries in young women, sadly, is labiaplasty. Because even on, porn, they're a lot of times photoshopping that area. And so women think they're supposed to look a certain way. And it's not even just like with the boob jobs and everything else. And that just breaks my heart because, first of all, everyone's beautiful just as they are, and especially that part of their body. And I think the other problem with this and the way the porn industry, sadly, kids as young as 8, 9 are watching that, and that's how they're getting their education. And then they think that's what sex is supposed to look like in this hard and fast thing, which is not at all how it needs to be for a woman to actually really enjoy herself. I mean, so anyways, but I think that body image part, it plays so much into that. And then the younger you are, you're more susceptible to that, which is why one of the beauties of aging, we talked about this earlier, you're less concerned with that. But I do feel like those articles and everything like that can cause so much stress around connection. And you think you have to be, like you said, putting your ankle behind your head, some kind of, what do you call those people, contortionists, to have great sex, and that's so not the case. And men are simple. I feel like for most men, you could just go right to them and grab them, and they're ready to go. But women, you kind of have to dance around the sexual center first to really get them warmed up. And porn doesn't show that at all. You have to learn that through life, or hopefully educating yourself in some other way. Sadly, we don't have many places where they're educating the men don't have the magazines. I don't know, maybe they do. As much so as the Cosmo from 12, you're looking at that in the checkout stand, thinking it's all about you. You don't see that on the men's magazines. How can you please your woman?
Right.
Yeah.
Go to Lou Paget's books.
Right. Well, and I just want to jump in again, something from being a military contractor and running these tech labs with a bunch of young Marines and soldiers and sailors. But one guy one time said, he was talking to his buddy and I was totally eavesdropping. And he said, he goes, I'm so sick of my girlfriend asking me about her ass. He's like, it looks great. It's where it should be. He goes, it's big enough. And he goes, she always wants it bigger, smaller, whatever. How does it look? He goes, I now have become conscious of her ass in a way that's not like a man is conscious of it. And I think as women, when we perpetuate these things, I think what Amanda said was right on. If you're warm and willing and you're into them, they're not going to worry about whether you're a size 6 or an 8 or a 10. They're going to want to have some fun.
Yeah, I've never heard of a guy kicking a woman out of bed when she's naked. Never. And you know what? I think that any plastic surgeon who does labiaplasty on a young woman should be shot and killed. I really do. And unless you've had female circumcision and you want, to be cosmetically enhanced again or whatever the case might be, I can understand that. But for just a 20-year-old or anybody, really, it's ridiculous. Guys, like you said, Amanda, guys are ready to go. They're ready. They're already there. You're willing and you spread your legs and pretty much, they're ready to go. I'm wondering though, have any of you ever had a partner who really wasn't comfortable sexually and it made you uncomfortable? Because, I really tend to like these lusty guys, husky guys. And it's kind of fun. And I did have a partner once who seemed shy at it or wasn't comfortable with sex. And it made me feel awkward and shy. And it was very uncomfortable.
Frankie, it's so funny you say, you were laughing because I think that sex can be very, very fun.
It should be fun.
It can be really fun, and it can be silly, and it can be a place where you really let down and you show. You can always see the little boy inside the man, but you very rarely see the little girl inside the woman. And so, to me, I've always found that sex can be fun. It can be serious. It can be anything in between. But I love when I'm so happy and joyous that I laugh. And one time I did laugh. And this person was terribly upset.
Oh my gosh.
Terribly upset and felt diminished. And it was eye-opening to me because it was just a very fun thing to be doing. And I was early. I don't know when it was. I couldn't begin to tell you. But it's interesting to me. So to answer your question, yes, you can make people uncomfortable. And you don't know what sometimes their insecurities are. Is right. Men are very simple creatures, and for that I am very grateful. I think they're easy to figure out. I think they're fun to be with. I've always had male friends, as I mentioned earlier, and I find them to be honest and forthright. But that one took me by surprise. The only time it had ever happened, but that was a no-go for me.
I often giggle. I do having
too,
sex.
because I'm having fun.
It's happy, or if you had and you're laughing because it was fun and it was funny and it's a release.
And joyful. Yeah, I agree with you. So that's my story. That's an interesting one, I thought.
I agree with that. And I know in the past I had an old boyfriend who was very uncomfortable about sex, or anytime I would try to bring up something new. One of the reasons we're not together anymore, but I knew, something about me knew deep down, this can't be what sex is. People would not be raving about it if this is what it is. But I also like to try to encourage people to use sex as a container, not just for good times. I think a lot of times when we're intimate like that, your body can release so much. And when you have that safe container with your partner where you can laugh, you can cry, whatever it is that you need to express and release, that it's a safe container for you to experience that, both you and your partner. And when you can, and that's not something that we're ever taught. That's not something that, that we learn coming along, but that is huge because it's such a deep, intimate place to release.
Well, it can be, or it can be just, or it can just be something that's fun. I mean, I think it's the box you put it in. I have friends who are like, when I have sex, it's a deep emotional bonding, and I just sit there going, I don't even have time to listen to you talk about that, much less your husband doing that. Because there is something about the quick and dirty. You got to let it be what it can be, because when I first was young and doing it, I thought it was like a Harlequin romance novel, because that's all I ever knew. And I didn't understand all the different facets of it until I got older, and how sometimes it can just be a fun pick-me-up and it doesn't have to mean anything or go anywhere. And on all of those spectrums are okay.
Agreed. I agree with that 100%. One thing that is interesting to note, though, after a trauma or some kind of a traumatic event, people have sex and babies are born 9 months later. And it's like a life-affirming act, too. You bring you together, and there's just something about it that, people reach out for one another and they have sex.
Well, Katrina babies, 9/11 babies.
Yeah. It's interesting and understandable. But like you said, Sandra, you know what? I think it takes all kinds of sex to have a fun, good, wholesome sexual relationship with somebody. I don't always want to have a quickie, and I don't always want to be 2 hours long.
Yeah, well, that's about knowing your partner and being, I had a partner who was kind of weird about sex, and, he wanted like all the lights off, and it had to be like something under the covers. And you guys know me, I'm running around naked at 50, so I don't care. I'll jump in and do a cannonball completely nude. And like, who cares? Like, there's so many hang-ups about the human body, and and he was beautiful. He was such a beautiful looking man inside and out, but the minute the lights went out, so did his like concept self-esteem. And I never did figure out what was going on, with him, because I'm not a shrink. So, it's one of those things where you got to know your partner, and you got to talk to them and be with them in a way that's more than just in the bedroom with the lights off. We'll be back after the break with more from Dynamic Women.
We're Dynamic Women Talk Radio, and we'll return after these short messages.
Valentine's Day has been celebrated in different ways around the world. In Italy, one tradition suggests that the first man a single woman sees on Valentine's Day was the man she would eventually marry. What's a word for the first person you see after you leave the house in the morning? A qualtag. In South Africa, some women pin the name of their love interest on their shirt sleeves, following an ancient Roman tradition known as Lupercalia. This is how South African men learn of their secret admirers. In America, it is widely believed that if women don't receive a gift of candy, flowers, or a card from their guy on Valentine's Day, he's probably going to get dumped. This is usually the cause for a charrette or an 11th hour effort by men to buy their woman a Valentine's gift.
It's
I'm Carolyn Davidson, and you can have fun challenging your words you never heard vocabulary with my free app, Too Funny for Words.
It's the Fitness Minute with fitness expert Annette Hammond.
Just as you need to give your car gasoline or diesel to fuel it, you need to give your body the right kind of fuel also. I am often asked, should I eat before I work out? The answer is yes. Cooper Aerobics Center recommends that you eat oatmeal or another hot cereal, a plain English muffin, toast or mini bagel, low-fat or fat-free regular or Greek yogurt, a fruit smoothie, or a snack bar before you work out. Eating a piece of fruit is a fabulous choice because it is low-calorie, packed with vitamins and minerals, and carbohydrates are the optimal fuel source to consume before a workout. Your body requires carbohydrates, and they are absorbed very quickly. Eating an apple or banana on your way to the gym is a good idea and will fuel your body for the workout ahead. For the Fitness Minute, I'm Annette Hammond. Like us on Facebook.
Hey, ladies, this is Sandra Beck. I'm here with Amanda Testa, Linda Crater, and Frankie Picasso. This is Dynamic Women. We are talking about sex, and we're talking about the perception of sex as we age. And the difference is then when we were in our 20s, 30s, 40s, kids, no kids, divorced, single, married, all these things weigh in on situations. And I have to tell you, one of the most challenging things I've faced in my relationship arena, shall we say, is the new guy, the 50-year-old body, and I'm not Springboard SpongeBob cake anymore.
You're not a cake topper anymore?
No, I'm not a cake topper anymore. And somehow lights on, lights off, candlelight is my new best friend because everything looks better in candlelight. And things look better laying down than they do standing up. So I'm finding that especially in the initial stages when you're first with somebody new, I need a lot of props. I'm like the sexual magician. If the girls need to be up here, I need to be kind of hanging from the ceiling, I guess.
Now there's a picture.
Yeah, that's a visual. But, so hang-ups don't go away. They're just different hang-ups. Like when I was in my 20s, I was a college swimmer. So I had a rockin' body. You could bounce a BB off any part of my body. It would bounce right back. Now it would be, I don't know, gone forever.
Sandra, you're too hard on yourself. That's ridiculous. She does not look like that. However, you know what? When you are in your 50s and 60s and you think about dating somebody new, that, your body is not that of a 20-year-old, and who knows what they're used to. And we do get self-conscious and we do worry about it. But, I have to just go back to that adage that men are just happy to have sex.
I think
Grateful.
Men are just happy when you're happy, when you're confident. You ask most men what draws them to women. It isn't necessarily their bodies, their face, their sense of humor. It's the whole thing, but it's mostly drawn to self-confidence.
That's right.
And if you are comfortable in who you are and fit your skin well, I think they're very happy with being around you. Intimate or otherwise, and I think there's a big difference. I think as women, some of us want to be more sensual as well as sexual, and I don't know that men are as familiar with sensuality, but you can teach that. You can easily show them what you mean with that. And most men are willing learners, which I think is wonderful.
Go, Amanda.
I agree. I was going to say, I think one of the biggest things you can do as you age, and especially when you're going into the dating world, and but really to help you with that confidence in yourself is creating like a daily self-pleasure practice, or maybe it doesn't have to be daily, but I know that might sound crazy, but there is something to it. The more you connect with yourself and know how to make yourself feel good and know how to touch your own self, when you present yourself to your date, you're going to be like, if you even get to touch this body, you are lucky because it is the world of pleasure. You know what I mean?
It's a love temple.
So you just have a whole nother respect for yourself that will move into how you approach your relationship or your date, or these new opportunities to be intimate with someone.
Can I say something? I've been sitting here thinking about the original, the Portuguese ruling about the man and the women, and the women can't have sex, it can't have children anymore, so sex isn't as important. But why is sex more important for a man if he can't have children anymore either? Because he's not really having it with the women who aren't having children. So, where is that ruling going? That him just putting his penis in his hand or in somebody much younger or just in his wife is more important for him to have the pleasure than for her to have pleasure?
I think it's symptomatic of the viewpoint that
don't matter.
We don't matter. Like our sexual needs don't matter. I mean, even my own son, like Zachy was reading something online and he goes, Mom, he says, do you have needs? And I said, yeah. He goes, well, I mean those kind of needs. And I said, yeah, I have those. He goes, well, I don't have them yet because I'm only 10. And he said, but what do you do with those needs? And I said, when you get older, there's lots of different things you can do. But and he was very innocent and puzzled going, wow, maybe Mom has needs. But I think he's kind of symptomatic of everybody in the universe that thinks just because women hit a certain age or they've already had children, and the menopause drugs, I'm sorry, but they really make it hard on the perception. Because if you listen to some of these ads for menopause drugs, you would think that we all turned into day-old bread. You know, not
That's a good analogy.
Yeah, I love that.
Needing all this enhancement. Some of us are really good in their 50s, especially if you take care of your body, you go to the gym, you know, you take care of your emotional needs. I find that that's a big thing for me. You know, when you practice whole body self-care, you're revving to go when the opportunity presents itself.
Don't you think it keeps you younger?
Yeah.
I think that if you do practice the self-care, wear the nice lingerie, self-care in any form, it does keep you younger at heart. I always laugh and when asked how old I am, I usually say, well, I'm about 37 in my head, because that's where I am.
Mine is old enough not to have to answer that.
Okay, well, I don't ever answer the question, but I do feel like my inside feels like 37, and that's how my mental age is, you know. So it's all in the prime of life, and it's delightful. And so I think that we're given such. It's an amazing thing. This goes on for as long as we live, in my view. It just may change form as we get older, and you know, we don't have to be contortionists, and it isn't about the competition of how many positions. It's about pleasure on both sides and connection. And for me, I need the intimacy.
I think older men want intimacy. I think that
agree.
they really want that. Let's look at Helen Mirren for a moment. In her 70s,
gorgeous.
absolutely stunning, gorgeous. I don't know a guy that doesn't want a banger, you know, like really. Look, total sexual package, walking. Yeah, honestly, she's absolutely gorgeous. And, you know, that we can all be like that. And we are all like that. It's in her head. You know, in her head, she's stunning and gorgeous and confident. And that's why she looks that way. And, you know, she is. But you know what? Young men, older men, they all think she's beautiful. And we're all beautiful too, if we want to be.
You know, Amanda, go a little bit into that sex and success business with the charisma and the sexual energy, because I think it's fascinating. It fits right into this.
Yeah, it's so true. And I think because, you know, the more you are connected to that part of yourself, the more you are allowing your creativity to flow and accessing that part of you. Your sexual center is so important with turning all that on. And when you're shut down and you are disconnected, then you're going to have struggles in your relationships. You're going to have struggles in your business. You know, it's all connected. And I like to think like the way that you connect to your sexuality is the way you connect to everything. And the more turned on you are and the more time you spend, like, you know, when you think about it, even if you just sit here and, you know, maybe take a minute or two just to kind of like pulse your pelvic floor muscles, you'll feel a little energy build. Like there's something to that energy. And you can like use it for whatever you want to use it for.
Use it for good. Oh, that's great. Go, Sandra.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's where like I giggle a lot because, you know, I like to watch product ads, you know, because my background is advertising and marketing along with programming. And, you know, but the funny thing is, it's like the Kegel exercises, you know, and then there's the things you can buy, like the Kegel barbells. I don't know if that's what they're called, but yeah. But, you know, the point is if you focus on like, you know, I'm going to go like really, you know, esoteric now, but what you focus on happens. And if you focus on what you need to do to have a healthy, happy sex life, guess what? Odds are you're going to have it. If you focus on your career, if you focus on your hair, you focus on your nails, like, you know, all of these things we do as women. So why wouldn't we just turn that spotlight onto our physical life, you know, our personal life with our partners or finding a new partner? You know, Frankie is so great at, you know, helping people find a new partner and identify what they want. If you don't focus on this, guess what? Move it or lose it, chicas. I mean, if you buy into the perception that as we age, we need less physically, we need less emotionally, then you're going to be right. It's what you buy into really makes your life, your perception drives everything, which is why I wanted this topic for today's show, because the perception in the media is that as we age, we turn to day-old bread and we have no needs.
You know, Sam, I think it's changing. I think the pendulum is swinging because I believe that you're starting to see more ads for really attractive older women. You're seeing
giving men Viagra.
Well, that's part of it, but I think that there really is a vibrancy to getting older, and you know, the 50s and 60s are not the 50s and 60s that we thought they would be at 20. And so I think the pendulum is swinging. I think young men are dating older women because of a lot of reasons.
Because we're fun.
Well, we're fun. We are no drama. We
Yeah.
are confident, and I think that those are some of the things that come along, and I find it fascinating. So in my view, I think it is changing for the better in terms of embracing older women as sexual and sensual beings, which is a wonderful thing to be happening.
If you're sitting home eating your cheese balls, you know, you've kind of lost touch with your sexuality.
Right?
I think so. You know what? Put those away. Start, you know, working out or whatever. Find yourself a guy and you're going to be a lot happier. A lot happier.
And the men too, I feel like they just rely on Viagra, but you know what? They could take a step in the right direction and do some, you know, because the more you see those men with, like my husband last, like the man boobs and the beer belly, they're not getting an erection because they have too much estrogen in their system. So, you know, that's the double-edged sword, which makes me laugh. But yes, they need to take some responsibility for themselves too. So that
they're
everybody
not
can
getting
have
sex because of the man boobs and the beer
Right?
belly. I'm sorry, who wants to look up and see that?
I know.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
We are going to end this show, but let's end it on a happy note, saying that women are definitely sexual beings in their 40s, 50s, 60s, and onward. We are very proud of ourselves for having gotten this far and fitting our skin in a way that we understand. We understand men, we understand ourselves, and we are dynamic women. You can find more at dynamicwomentalkradio.com. Come join us again next week with more intriguing topics on women. Ladies, make it a great week.
Thank you for tuning in today to Dynamic Women Talk Radio, and join us each week. You can find more shows on dynamicwomentalkradio.com.